right, so let's get started. So Mohammad, Mr. Money Hub, thank you for agreeing to take part in our webinar, man.
It's a pleasure.
So it's great to meet another fellow entrepreneur. So why don't we just get started? Why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself, the Money Hub, and just basically about your journey.
Thank you. So I am a recent college grad. I graduated from City College with a degree in economics, and that is where I really got into entrepreneurship. And it was actually one of my professors who encouraged me to really get into it. And he's also my co-founder with me on the Money Hub, and he's also been a mentor of mine as well. And really, the idea came to me through college. You know how they tell in college you really have to kind of do different things and kind of discover yourself.
Of course.
That was kind of my journey as well, because I went into City College wanting to be an engineer. And it's great to be an engineer. My brother is an engineer, but for me, I wasn't good at it, and I wasn't enjoying myself either. So I really had one of those turning point moment in before my junior year of college. That was when I was really thinking about what am I really passionate about, and what is it that I really want to do. And ultimately, I saw that I really enjoy helping people. And I also admired a lot of entrepreneurs and things like that. Somebody like Bill Gates, somebody like Elon Musk and things like that, or even Mark Zuckerberg. And I really appreciate how they took their idea and they took that beyond it to build it into something great, something that's part of our everyday life, even today, So then I thought, how could I combine those two? So then that's when I really looked into. So I don't know if you guys know, the viewers, but City College of New York is somewhere where Colin Powell actually went. He was
oh wow.
Yeah, he was a Secretary of Defense a while back, and as a way of giving back, he donated money to put all the social sciences under his name, and then economics fell under that. So then, as part of the Colin Powell School, there are certain fellowships that you can apply to. So one of them I applied to was called a Community Engagement Fellowship, where you submit a project plan. So it's very much like entrepreneurship, and then they choose the one that they see is impactful and is going to be very suitable as well. And then once that's chosen, once you get accepted to the fellowship, they give you some startup money that you can put towards your tuition as well as towards your business idea. And then you also receive fellowship, mentorship from mentors as part of the program. And then also you get to go on a trip to DC and meet Colin Powell himself.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you got to meet him.
Yeah, I got to meet him in person there. I got to meet with a few other nonprofits in DC as well.
What did they say about your idea when you first had it?
Oh, they loved it. They really appreciated it, but I don't think they really understood the feasibility of it. They saw it as a great college idea that could ultimately turn into a great college club and things like that, but I saw it as something bigger. And then my co-founder Glenn Patterson, he also saw it the same way. So while I got that accepted, while I was part of the whole learning the whole nonprofit sector of it, he was the one that was encouraging me to really incorporate social media as well as tech into it. So then you scale it to be something bigger than just a school club or a local organization. So then with that, I was able to really focus on building a team, to building a website, to building a product and a service at the same time. So that's when I started forming a team. And the idea that I had was to build the Money Hub, but at the time I called it the Economic Literacy and Growth Center Inc. And it really came to me, as we were talking earlier, I grew up in Astoria right around 2007, 2008, when gentrification was really heavy in this area. Me and my parents, we got priced out of our neighborhood, essentially. And it was either, go from one home to another and then wait till the landlord raise the rent or get your own place. So one thing that I noticed at that time was that my dad, like he came as an immigrant from Bangladesh, and he got credit cards and he maxed it out. He didn't really understand, what a credit score was really meant for and things like that. So then when my mom saw that, she learned, and then she was able to build her credit score up to when 2007, 2008 came around. We were able to then, she was able to mortgage a place in Jamaica, Queens, and then we bought a house there, and then we moved there. So yes, I missed my neighborhood, I missed with the friends that I grew up with and stuff like that, but just the joy of having your own place and knowing no landlord could kick you out felt really great. And then I kind of look back to that moment and saw that as that was like an establishing moment in our life here in America. So I feel like, as I got older, in college level and things like that, I got to meet with people from all over the city, as well as people from other countries, and I saw that some of them were facing a similar struggle, adjusting to here, adjusting to learning the credit system, adjusting to the high cost of living in New York City, and what was seriously lacking was financial literacy. So that's one thing as an entrepreneur, that you try to find a problem that you can find a solution for, and see if that problem is prevalent. You may feel like it's a problem that really is. A lot of people are affected by it, but then here I was presented with real factual evidence and numbers as to people that are actually affected by it, and then that's how I then catered my solution around the people that need it. And I felt like a place they could really start it is when they're young,
Got it.
So
what does the Money Hub do now? What are some initiatives that you're taking, and what are some initiatives that you're looking to take on?
So what we do at heart is that we teach financial literacy to teens and young adults throughout New York City, and then ultimately we want to go nationwide with it. And the way that we do that is by building technology and building curriculum that teaches financial literacy. So we're building apps and whiteboard animated videos to teach, and then as well as building a curriculum that is centered around your dreams and your hopes as a kid, and then finding out ways to financially be stable while you're trying to reach your dreams and your hopes, So that's what we see is our biggest initiative, building a roadmap towards, achieving your dream ultimately. And what we're doing currently is that we're also trying to build an app that is going to involved in getting kids into the banking system early on, so they're not, targeted by predatory practices such as check cashing places and things like that. And and then not just putting money away in a bank where they don't really know what they're going to do with it. Rather, creating something that is going to allow them to tailor it around their goals and things like that, and then being able to budget all at once, right then and there, everything on their phone, because kids these days, they're on their phone,
Yeah.
So why not give them good content to consume on their phone? Why not give them useful things to do on their phone, like paying their bills, like planning for their next phase in life and things like that.
Got it.
So that's our next big initiative that we're taking.
I mean, that's very key. I mean, you look, we were just speaking about it in school, and the people that are tuning in that have gone to elementary, middle school, and high school in New York or just any other state. I think one of the main things that we don't learn in school is financial literacy. We don't learn credit scores. We don't learn how to open up a checkings and savings account, how to invest our money properly. When you're getting a loan, what should you read? Most people, they just sign a document, get the money, and they don't even understand that the percentage that they're going to be paying monthly is extreme, and it's going to get to a point where they might have to default, and they don't understand the implications on that. My father always told me your credit score is going to follow you for life.
Yeah, it is, and as someone who recently got an apartment here in New York City, now in New York City, almost every landlord does a credit check. On top of that, so imagine having the money to rent a place, having everything ready and needing to have that place, but then you realize this number, that credit score, is holding you back from it. So so that's a very important number now for everything, not just for acquiring assets. And I was gonna say something else, but I forget. Something like about loans, like things like that. One of the biggest things about that is planning. Like if you know that, let's say something like psychology major, you know, like my sister is doing an undergrad in psychology right now, and it's something that I tell her all the time is that like you did the smart thing by going to Queens College for it, because guess what, you're not gonna be in debt when you're done with your undergrad, and to be a psychologist you have to get your PhD, or to be a psychiatrist you have to go to med school, so that means more schooling, which means you're probably gonna need to take out loans for. So it's like having a plan, having a roadmap for what you're gonna actually do. That way, you know, you're not like already in massive debt before you go on to like grad school or to med school and things like that. So just planning and understanding what road you're gonna have to take and what are some of the costs that are gonna be on the way is a big thing, and it's something that isn't talked about enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the main things, even now, when you look at the presidential debate with, you know, Democrats, I think one thing that is not brought up that's really important is access to capital.
Yeah.
You know, access to capital, if you look around in the world, that really helps people leave poverty, go into the middle class, be able to establish businesses. In order to do that, as you mentioned, credit score is what you need.
Yes.
So the earlier you start it, the better.
Yeah.
What techniques are like that you guys are implementing when you're going to speak to these kids? What are you telling them, and how are you getting them more involved in, for them to understand, you know, this is something that's going to be impacting, you know, them in the future?
Well, so the biggest thing that we do is that we make it around their goals. You know, so one of the first things we do is we get them to visualize what are some of their long-term and short-term goals, and then being able to write it down and actually or draw it out. So then it becomes more real. And then turning that goal into a SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So now you actually have a goal instead of just a wish, you know? So now that's around your goal, now you're better able to see how much money it's going to take to achieve that, how much money you're going to need to support yourself and live the kind of lifestyle that you need to live in order while you're trying to achieve it, you know, so you don't go hungry or go homeless while you're trying to achieve your goal, you know. So that's been one of the biggest things. We also then talk to the kids in the workshop like adults, you know, like we don't baby them. We tell them, you know, this is not a baby topic. This is not something that we're here to kind of bullshit you about. We keep it real with them, and that's something that I think kids really understand, and they appreciate that. On top of that, so that's been our secret formula. Really, is that treating them like adults and treating their dreams and hopes with respect and with positivity, in the sense that, you know, we believe in your dream. No dream of yours is outrageous, especially when you can map out how much money it's going to take, how much time it's going to take, and how much effort it's going to take. Then it's no longer a wish, then it's a true goal, you know. So that's been really our biggest thing.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you bring up some great points. What is some things that you see, these kids, that you were surprised that they just do not know what to do? Or
Well, something like kids being super tech savvy nowadays, you know, for them not being able to understand how to budget and having a budget right on their phone, you know, like having an app to budget and things like that, being able to send money through your phone and things like that, just pretty much online banking, and just using your phone for to keep yourself accountable when it comes to money is something that is lacking in this generation that is super tech savvy, you know. So that's something that we felt like that we could fill that void and really teach kids about, you know, because I think that it's very important to be able to utilize your smartphone to your advantage and towards things that are ultimately going to be very helpful for you.
Absolutely. I think one of the things is that when we think of, when people rather than think of entrepreneurship, they think of people automatically think of Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and everything that they're doing. But there's a whole new wave of entrepreneurs that are coming, and it's called social entrepreneur. From your perspective, where do you see, what do you define a social entrepreneur first?
So a social entrepreneur is someone that is, sorry to cut you off, but a social entrepreneur is someone who is building a product or a service that is going to create social good and not just profit for the shareholders.
Yeah.
And ultimately what social entrepreneurs are doing they're in a sense creating the modern day nonprofits, you know. which is what's needed, because everything is getting updated, right? So why not nonprofits and foundations and things like that? So that's what a lot of young leaders, especially in New York and other major cities, are creating, that are ultimately going to be household names, that are going to be household products and services that are going to not only allow for improvement in a whole sector, but it's going to allow for improvement in people's lives.
Where do you see, because I remember 5 years ago the term social entrepreneur wasn't really used.
Yeah.
It was entrepreneur. How, like, where do you see the industry going, and why all of a sudden are people now pivoting towards becoming social entrepreneurs?
Because I think like people are tired of seeing all that is wrong with their neighborhoods and all the injustices that are going on across the globe, for everyone. So I think people are just sick and tired of waiting for the government or waiting for big corporations to do things when they could, kind of build their own community and build their own movement towards fixing issues that are plaguing their neighborhood, plaguing their neighbor, plaguing their fellow countrymen, and also those abroad. So I think that's really what I think people are just beginning to wake up and just really seeing that the changes that they want to make or they want to see, they can make themselves. So I think that's really one of the biggest things. And also there's been a lot of buzz around social entrepreneurship, mainly because leaders don't just entrepreneurs don't just have to create the next viral product. They can create something that's going to create lasting change in people's lives. And a lot of leaders, political leaders, corporation leaders, tech leaders worldwide are seeing that in those that are trying to produce something like that and are really supporting it.
So, I think those are all good points, and I agree. I think a lot of people are understanding the impact that they're making as social entrepreneurs is actually more rewarding than just being an entrepreneur and just going for monetary gains. So, I commend you for, leading the initiative of being a social entrepreneur. Hopefully other, fellow Muslims that are watching this can see the initiative that being an entrepreneur isn't all about just making money or, getting your company to get an IPO. It's about making impact in people's lives. Speaking about that, tell me a little bit about your journey and some obstacles and stuff that you faced.
So my journey, I believe, has been very unconventional because I kind of went into it without really any knowledge of entrepreneurship. So I kind of had to learn on the fly a little bit. So that's been one. And secondly, being that a lot of social entrepreneurs usually get their start in a big name school, like a Harvard, like a Columbia, and things like that. So then sometimes they get into it with big backing, that are already there. For me, that wasn't the case. I just kind of came out of nowhere and took it and kind of went with it because I had good mentorship. But in terms of the school backing it, not so much, just because they didn't have their vision of what it would be in the future. They were too focused on, the here and now, whatever it may be. But, I did get a start to the program there. That's why I always recommend college for everyone, even if, because there's this whole thing going on now. They're talking about how college is not needed and things like that, which I understand, because a lot of people, for them, college is a way of increasing your ability to make more money, which is absolutely true. Through studies has shown that the biggest indicator of long-term wealth is a college degree. So that's very important. But I think a lot of times we get lost in the whole argument of college debt to people who are out of college and don't have a job and aren't able to work, and that leads them to being in so much debt and not having an income. So then college doesn't seem so attractive. But you don't just go to college for your degree. You don't just go for your for grades. You essentially go there to network, which is not something which is not a bad word.
Yeah.
It's network. Sometimes you feel like it's fake. You're just kind of getting to know somebody to just be to see what they can do for you or what you can do for them. But that's not always the case. You have to really get to know your classmates. You gotta get to know your schoolmates who are in other majors and things like that, and you collaborate. Somebody like Mark Zuckerberg who made Facebook, his co-founders and things like that, and the whole idea of it was something he discovered while in college, So it wasn't that he just was some kid at home and one day just realized, hey, I'm going to make this, and then he found a ton of resources around him to do so. It was because he was in Harvard, surrounded by already the infrastructure being there to be able to launch something beyond just an idea and really make it go bigger than what it was. So I think that's why, for me, that was
I think where we left on was obstacles that you face, and you mentioned something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that difficulty is managing people, managing their expectations. How do you get them, and again, being a social entrepreneur, how do you get them excited about, we're building something to help other people? It may not be necessarily where the traditional entrepreneur is trying to build something like an Amazon or a Facebook
So it's just really been to be able to inspire people to see the vision that you have, and once they see it, when they buy into it, it really isn't all that hard, because then you see people see what you see, and people buy into what you bought into yourself. So that's the thing. You gotta lead by example, and you gotta always keep your people and the people you serve at the center of everything you do. When you do that, you'll have great people on your team, and just being able to then manage their expectation and manage the expectations and the vision of your organization. And once it aligns up, then it's then it's just kind of on autopilot at that point,
Got it.
So that's been the biggest thing, just being able to show the vision that you see and that you have, and then having the rest of your teammate kind of buy into that is what's going to ultimately be the success long term of your organization and your initiative.
Okay, that's good. That's definitely good. I know. So why don't you tell the viewers something that that happened this year, and that I would say more so of the key word that all entrepreneurs should have: resilience, and how important that is for an entrepreneur.
So this year has been kind of a slow start because in January I was in a bad car accident, and it left me with a traumatic brain injury. So really for the half of the year, pretty much up until this point, that's been a big part of my life, just adjusting and recovering, and then being able to manage, recovery, physical therapy and things like that, along with the growth of your organization. And that's been the hardest thing, and just being able to be resilient and just fight through it and be able to conquer it is what you need as an entrepreneur, being resilient and being motivated and staying committed and staying positive about your goal, about your life and things like that. It's been a lesson even for me, because I thought that I always felt like I've been resilient, but really this is something that taught me big time resiliency, So and then also it was a good time for my team to kind of come together and step it up in my place while I'm recovering, things like that. I mean, I'm a lot more active now than I was 2 months ago. So my team has really stepped it up during that time. And then for me as a leader, it was a different role now that I took a little bit of a step back and less of an active role and more of a coach kind of role, where I'm coaching the rest of my team to kind of carry out some of the tasks that I used to carry out myself. So just having that trust and faith in your team and in your teammate, and putting the right people in right places to succeed, that's your biggest thing as a leader, as a coach, essentially, is putting others in places where they can succeed. And if you do that right, you're going to have a great team and you're going to have a great organization.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the journey that you're going to have, I think more than anything, it just is somewhat of a team building exercise.
Yes.
Bringing your team together, and they see you as a leader, and they see right now you're in recovery mode, but you're still resilient on the vision, and they see how powerful that vision is to you, and that more or less inspires them to take on the baton and continue it. I think that's very important. I mean, as entrepreneurs, there's going to be obstacles all the time. Many people say that, an athlete, you only see them on the field. You don't see all the hours and the hours and the hours that they're putting in the gym, that they're putting in training, that they're, putting in with their coach. That's where the real building takes place.
Yes.
When they're on the field or when, they're on the court. that's the buildup of the months, the days, the hours, the minutes of sacrifice of doing the work. So
yeah, that's like the saying that like it takes 10 years to become an overnight celebrity.
Yeah,
and that's true, because once something hits big, people are gonna be like, wow, like he or she is really doing things. But then bottom line is they never got to see the days where you didn't hit it big, or the days where things didn't go your ways. And there's gonna be days like that. There's gonna be months like that, and things like that. So, but then the whole key is to stay positive and stay believing in yourself and having faith in your vision. If you don't believe in your vision, how do you expect others to believe in it? So you really gotta keep that as a key part of whatever you do. Like at the center of everything, it has to be that you gotta believe, you gotta have faith, and you gotta have the work ethic that you want your team members to mimic.
Absolutely. So I think now that we're wrapping up, what is some key advice that you give other entrepreneurs, like people that are watching this? They might have an idea, they might even be running their own businesses. What's some key advice that you give these people so that they can also succeed?
So one of the biggest things for me was that being able to distinguish between a startup, an entrepreneurship, and a small business or even a big business mindset. Like you don't want to manage your team the ways a manager manages a team for an organization, things like that, because you want to allow for creativity, you want to allow for movement within the team's role and team structure and things like that. And then also being able to take on tasks yourself and show your team members, that the kind of effort that you expect. You don't necessarily want to be negative, and you don't want to come down on a member for maybe for them not living up to your expectation. You just kind of have to show them the rope a lot of the time, because this could be first time or maybe second or third or fifth time for you being an entrepreneur, but maybe for that other person it might be their first time. And the thing is, that doesn't mean that they don't want to learn or they don't want to contribute. They just doesn't maybe know how, and maybe that could be your opportunity really to take someone under your wing and to really show them the way, and then that could ultimately help you in your organization.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think having that mindset and distinguishing between the three is very important, because that really helps you build a foundation for success.
And then you have certain expectations and things like that and then you know how to set goals and things like that, and then being able to always take the feedback of the people you're serving, for any product, whether it be for a service or for a big time product, whatever it may be. You want to be able to take in the feedbacks of those you serve, because then that right there is going to help you make a better product or service, and then ultimately that's going to lead to your organization being successful or not. So then that's another key, I would say. And also being resilient and being able to fight through setbacks, because trust me, there's going to be a ton of setbacks.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not, even if you have the best product or service in the world, there's going to be setbacks. But you have to stay positive and you have to stay with it. You can't give up. Just don't give up. That would be my biggest thing. Don't give up. And also, for those who just want to get into entrepreneurship or want to come up with a great product or service, I would say, first of all, if you find something that you feel like is a need, you got to get some numbers to back it up, especially if you're looking to get some VC venture capital funding. They want to see that they want to see numbers that actually show that this isn't a problem throughout, So if you believe that, that people really could use financial literacy throughout New York City, well, where's the number to prove it, So then that's something that you have to kind of go into, because then that's going to define your market that you can serve, that your product or service can serve, and then being able to cater a solution that is specific to that market, and then you go and then you go build your team, build your product, and then have them help build out what it is that you set forth. So first is finding the market, seeing that there's a need for it. It just can't be a hunch, it has to be actual number. And then finding a solution to fit that market, and then finding a team or building a team rather. So building a team to then create that solution and then being able to offer it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for participating in this. Giving valuable information. For anybody that wants to reach out to you or that has any questions, what are some ways that they can reach out to you?
Well, you guys could definitely reach out via our social media. So that's Money Hub NYC. That's our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our Twitter page, our LinkedIn page. They could all be found there. And then you guys could also reach out to me directly. And that's Mohammad Faisal on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. And then Mo_Faisal with 2 L's at the end on my Instagram and my Twitter as well. So you guys could message me through there. I'd be more than happy to help out if I can, So
well, perfect. Yeah,
and they can follow my journey through there as well, through my recovery and through the growth of the Money Hub.
I mean, I know that MEA community. We definitely want to see you get back to get back. So it's gonna be great. We'll definitely be posting Mohammed's link so you can reach out to him if you have any questions. Thank you again for participating. To the MEA community, thank you for logging in and being part of this great event. We're gonna have plenty of other webinars this month, so stay tuned. And until then, have a good night.